Hello, welcome to today's interview. My name is Aaron Crease, and today I'm going to be interviewing Daisy regarding her website. So welcome, Daisy. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you some questions regarding your website today. So the
Mhm.
first, so the first question is why did you create your own website?
I guess simple answer, just because there wasn't anything like it out there. I studied history before I did my degree in history, and I've always been interested in disability history, being disabled and all of that. Um, but a lot of disability history that I was seeing around was very academic, so it's not a particularly big um, section of history like Second World War or Tudor or there's not a massive amount of it, and so what is there tends to be you know academics who are doing research papers on their very specific bit, or people doing their PhDs, things like that. And it's not often very easy for people who didn't necessarily study history to read. And I found that I was talking to a lot of people who didn't quite realize how much disability history was um, around and out there. And it sort of, got me thinking about, oh, even our own history is inaccessible. That doesn't get on well with me. So I thought I'd try and take it upon myself to try and write some of it down.
Question two. Why? Oh no, sorry. Question two is what topics do you write about and cover on your website?
Well, I do bits from all over the place. So it's one of these tricky bits, because it's not, disability history isn't, necessarily a place in itself. You end up picking it up from all over the place. So, there's a bit in wartime history, and there's a bit in social history, and there's a bit in medical history. So some people have very specific ideas about where disability history starts and stops. So like with the social model of disability, that disability history should be completely separate from medical history, which obviously makes sense to how we understand things now, but we have to accept that they didn't necessarily understand things like that then. And so most of disability history pre sort of 1900 is going to be medical history. But yeah, I try and do bits from all over. So I've got one article that I did about the ancient Egyptian um, community called the Mamluks, and you know others that are suffragettes, and you know it's it's scattered from all over the place really, which arguably I should have more of a cohesive theme, but I quite like switching around to sort of really drastically different places all the time. I think it helps show that it's always been there as well. It's not some kind of newfangled thing. Disabled people were invented at any point. So I quite like that.
Um, Question three. How did you discover the For Gaining Our Future project?
But when I first moved to Bristol, I think it was just over 3 years ago, and when I moved to Bristol, I was sort of looking for a way to get a bit more involved in you know disability activism and advocacy and things like that. And I came across the forum. Um, didn't do anything about it for a while. As you do, you find out about the place and go, excellent, that's there, and then forget about it for a year or so. And yeah, I came back to it. I went to two separate of their disability history events a year apart during that year where I forgot they were there. And yeah, and I was looking into becoming a trustee by the second one. And I came across Laurie, and we were chatting for a while about it. So, I mentioned that I did research and write about disability history, and it's one of the reasons I was there, and we had a lovely chat.
Question 4. Where were you and what were you doing before you joined the For Gaining Our Future project?
Yeah, so really, I was just sort of plugging along on my own, really, sort of, doing my writing bits and research, and not necessarily, um, well, not necessarily getting it too many places. So it was really nice to sort of, be able to talk to people about all of this, and sort of, a lot of my kind of research methods for this are sort of, I've had to kind of make them up as I go. So it's nice to be able to write them down and try and hand them out to people. But yeah, I do captioning as a bit of work as well. So that's been a lot of my time taken up with a bit of history at the side.
Question 5. What is your job role within the For Gaining Our Future project?
So I am a research trainer, so particularly with sort of open access sources, so things like archives and the internet, and libraries and things like that. So as I say, I don't have institutional access anymore to a lot of research papers that you would get if you were a university student. So I have to find out most of what I do for things for free. So yes, I think Laurie hoped that I would be able to pass on a number of those skills, and it does come in very handy. Even if you're not doing history, it's always very helpful to be able to, people talk of making a skill out of Facebook stalking, and I guess it's a similar sort of theme, but with facts, it always comes in handy. So that's what I do, really. And I've been going through everyone's interview transcripts and trying to help identify themes that you could research later. I mean, they're all very interesting. So half the time I get most of the way through one of the transcripts and then realize I haven't actually been highlighting anything because I was just reading it. It was just interesting.
Question 6 is do you have any plans to utilize or incorporate your website for the For Gaining Our Future project?
But if people are open to it, I'm always, I mean, I'd be happy to continue doing this project forever and ever and ever. But from what I hear, all of the young people who have involved have other things to do, which is fair enough. As far as I'm concerned, I would do it forever.
Question 7. What has been your most inspirational and memorable moment so far throughout your career?
I say that's probably very recent, actually. Dawn, who was doing the oral history training, got me in touch with someone who works at a magazine who published an article of mine, which was very exciting. Not only because someone gave me money to write something, which was very exciting, but also because it's a history magazine, but it's not specifically about disability or about things. Just to have something about disability history, in amongst, I guess, regular types of history is sort of quite exciting to sort of, be able to see it alongside and it not have to be its own special corner over there. This is the disability side. This is where the able-bodied live and the non-disabled people live.
Question 8 is what do you think regarding the reception on on how the project has been received?
I think it's been received really well, and I guess I'm not sure if I'm surprised by it because I come into contact with a lot of people who study and are interested in disability history,
Yeah.
and so these types of projects are always kind of quite sought after, that sort of lived thing, particularly with the amount of documents and pictures and things that people supposedly have. I'm sitting there going, oh, I can think of however many people that would be almost salivating at the amount of primary sources that you can have. So yeah, so I guess I always thought it was going to be sort of received pretty well, but I guess I thought that would be mostly from the academics who were studying it, as it seems that we've had some decent interest from just sort of general history people in the museums and things like that. So that's very exciting. I mean, the M Shed have a good history of that sort of thing, kind of the social history of Bristol. But yeah, all over the place, people being interested in it is very, very exciting.
Um, Final question is, overall, do you think the project has been a success so far?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we might all do something in a couple of weeks to tank the entire project, but no, it's been going great. I mean, it's got a bunch of young people who are actually interested and invested. I think it's always a bit of a concern if you do a project that you'll get people who sort of maybe lose interest, but no, you've all been really good and doing really interesting interviews as well. You know, e- Even if like nothing came out of it further than the transcripts of the interviews, I think it would still be a success as a project.
Hmm. Um, well, thank you so much for allowing me to um, interview you today, Daisy.
That's quite all right.